While Laura was doing some side quests with some professional trainers, I was doing some side quests of my own. Since season 1, I started a new job. I now work for the Oregon 4-H Foundation, which means that I help raise money for Oregon 4-H, and it has allowed me the opportunity to experience some really unique 4-H things, starting with the Oregon 4-H wagon train. One of my bucket lists for a long time has been to be able to drive a team, and while I've technically already checked that off my bucket list, I never hesitate at the opportunity to drive. They asked me if I wanted to ride in the wagon, and I said no, I want to drive. So here I am with my team of mules, a covered wagon, and experiences to remember. The Oregon 4-H wagon train teaches history, builds leaders, and creates remarkable outdoor experiences for youth and families. Each year, the caravan sets out on one of Oregon's historic wagon trails, allowing the youth and families that accompany them to experience Oregon's most beautiful trails, camping together, sharing meals, singing around a campfire, and this year there was participation from the local tribes, and I got to be a part of it. While Oregon Wagon Train might be a unique 4-H camping experience, there are a plethora of other 4-H camping opportunities available in Oregon, including 8 weeks of camping at the Oregon Outdoor Education Center in Salem, Oregon.
There she goes. Look at her go.
I feel like this doesn't feel super secure.
Where they have a giant swing, I was told I must check out.
Come back around. Run.
No, I'm coming too wide. There's trees there. Okay, that landing's harder. I'm gonna turn around!
Good. Professional.
Stick the landing.
As it turns out, I was not very coordinated. I think I'll leave it to the 4-Hers. In September, I kicked off a week-long road trip at the Columbia Gorge Discovery Center and Museum for the grand opening of a new exhibit called A Sense of Place. This exhibit focuses on the life of Dan and Jeannie Carver and their ranch, Imperial Stock Ranch and Shaniko Wool, with sustainable sheep farming, and the wool that they produce is top quality. It was used in partnership with Ralph Lauren to create the Olympic opening ceremony uniforms.
It's a celebration of the families before us on that ranch, South Wasco County, Bay Coven area. Many of you have been on this journey with us, and our family, our ranch family, our neighbors, and our larger community. In the Idaho wilderness, Joyce, where I hauled in all that yarn and those sheep bells, and we were tying them on the kids around the campfire, so every package we shipped would jingle. And Susie and Holly, our granddaughter Holly's here tonight too. I convinced them to be models at some point. And then there was Kelia, who ran our operations for the yarn business out of the historic house. Even Aunt Carol came to work full-time with Shaniko. Remember those great mojitos in Columbus at the trade shows? We had a great time. And don't think the men got out of it. All those antlers they cut to buttons and the antler tips that put on the garments, they had to show up for the photo shoots and wear what I told them. From the first time we ever met, it was clear that he was in awe of nature. He talked about working to see the land win, and I joined him in that mission, because if the land could win, then everything else would follow. We became stewards of the land first, the operation, the buildings and facilities, because you know in ranching you do all your own fixing, and the history of the people before us. It was conservation, preservation, that would underlie our productivity then, today, and tomorrow. We began that stewardship journey with our partners in the local Natural Resource Conservation Service and Soil and Water Conservation District offices, vital partners in our success of the Imperial Stock Ranch and beyond, and we would not be here with this exhibit without them.
When the wool came in, I went down to the mill and looked at it. It was, oh my goodness, this is the most beautiful wool. I've been doing this all my life, and this is the finest. It felt like cashmere. It was beautiful. I called up Jeannie. I said, Jeannie, this wool was beautiful. It would make great blankets, because I knew the New York market. I said, would you like me to make some blankets out of this? And she said, no, I'm not interested. So now she put me in a little dilemma, because she should have said yes. So, yeah, she's just a ranch girl, so, you know. I could be in jail right now, but her wool was so beautiful, I couldn't take it. I took a portion of her wool.
Stole it.
I borrowed it. I made these blankets. It was like cashmere. It was so beautiful. this beautiful merino wool. I sent it to her. She said, oh, they are nice. Oh, yeah. I'm glad she picked up on that. Jeannie came up with the idea that we should go to New York City and to show our product. And oh my goodness, Ralph Lauren, all these top designers, manufacturers were blown away by these blankets. And we started getting orders right off, and it just generated and generated. This went on for X number of years. This introduction, what we had initially with the fabrics and the blankets, developed into Jeannie Carver's wool being used in the Olympics. Now she's getting phone calls from King Charles, she's getting all these awards from kings and whatever. So she's an exceptional person. I'm going to finish up right now. The thing is, how it started, she said, why do I need you? And now the American woolen industry is saying, Jeannie, we need you.
The Team USA Olympic uniforms that has carried on through 4 Olympic Games, including Paris last summer. That call changed our lives, and it touched so many people. And Ralph Lauren told our story, but it wasn't just our story. It's all our story. It was an Oregon story. It was a ranching story. It was sheep producers, and it was a U.S. manufacturing story. It's an American story that takes us back to when we were familiar with making our textiles and knew the people at every step. Because textiles was America's first industry as a country. So every step in the whole is important. We connected again, and we made each other stronger. So following that Olympic notoriety, many brands were calling. One was Patagonia. We met people like Rachel Cantu, who is here tonight. She was the director of global sourcing at the time for Patagonia and came with the first team from Patagonia to South Wasco County to see how we ranched and how we were treating our land and animals. Patagonia told us that to source our wool, we would have to be third-party audited to a new global standard called the Responsible Wool Standard.
Almost 10 years ago, I found myself in rural Maupin, Oregon, and I was armed with a stack of iPads and a grant from Arts and Education of the Gorge. I was there to run a week-long filmmaking camp for kids. In the week, we make a whole movie from interviewing to B-roll and making the music and do it all on the iPads. And we're always looking for somebody really cool to tell a story about. Somebody says, well, you gotta meet this rancher, Jeannie Carver. So I'm sitting there and I see these 10-year-olds interviewing this woman, and my story brain is just like exploding. Not only is she like dynamic and interesting, but she's really onto something. This whole idea of regenerative ranching, really interested. So I had to learn more. I asked a lot of questions, I learned a lot. I started to watch the land respond to all these things Jeannie was talking about. I knew without a shadow of a doubt that this was deserving of something much, much larger. I gotta say, after 25 years of making impact films, I know that we can leverage story to really move the needle. And that comes through oftentimes a character-driven story. One person who's really stepping up and doing something and bringing audiences to insight, inspiring action, and I've been witness to seeing Jeannie do this now. To be featured in a permanent exhibit and to work together to leave our mark here in the Gorge after living here for 10 years is just an amazing honor, and to do it with Jeannie by my side, by her side I am, is just incredible. We are working on this feature-length film. I've brought people in from National Geographic and Netflix and Showtime. We've been able to partner with the Robert Redford Center out at Sundance, and they're our fiscal sponsor. Just like Jeannie stewards the land, I've been called to steward the story. We're 7 years in. We got some time yet to go. This exhibit is just one stop on Jeannie's story, and I'm so proud to have played a part.
On the Yellowstone, some things are worth living for. Some things are worth dying for. Some things are just better left alone.
Of course, no trip to the Dalles is complete without a pit stop at Cousins. This might just be my family's tradition. Dad always timed his drive so that we would stop here for a meal. As you walk through the door, some sort of animal will make a sound at you, a cow will moo, a rooster will crow. You get the idea. But the point is, I stopped here for breakfast so I could get one of their famous cinnamon rolls. Mission complete. My next stop was a backtrack, taking me to Camas, Washington for an appointment, which allowed me the chance to hit I-84 again. While it's not considered a tourist drive, the same way that the historic Columbia River Highway is, I-84 is still scenic. Even though it was built for transportation, it has great views of the river, cliffs, mountains, and from a distance, waterfalls. While in Oregon, be sure to check out a local Pendleton Woolen Mills store. Pendleton Wool is a historic Oregon-based company known for its craftsmanship, durability, and iconic patterns. It was founded in the early 1900s and is especially known for their Native American-inspired geometric designs. Well, I made it out of the Pendleton store without buying anything, so I am safe for now. But I am headed to Pendleton Roundup at the end of the week, so we'll see how long that lasts. On May 18, 1980, Mount St. Helens in Washington state experienced the most significant volcanic eruption in U.S. history. A magnitude 5.1 earthquake triggered a massive landslide, the largest ever recorded, which caused the north face of the mountain to collapse. This released a devastating lateral blast of ash, rock, and superheated gas. The eruption flattened forests, filled rivers with debris, and sent an ash plume 80,000 feet into the air, spreading ash across multiple states. 57 people lost their lives when Mount St. Helens erupted, and the landscape around the volcano was permanently transformed into a natural laboratory for studying ecological recovery. I remember when I was a kid, my mom used to talk about when Mount St. Helens exploded. Even where they were at in Rickville, she said her car was just covered in ash after the volcano erupted. It took everyone by surprise. It's kind of a huge milestone in the history of the Pacific Northwest, or at least modern history, I should say, because I don't know how they classify like ancient history, old history, new history, I don't know. History. But so I thought it was a good place to stop and go for a walk. Beautiful day. It's the only wetlands here. Let's see if I can do this. Can't even see it. Right there is Mount St. Helens, but of course it's foggy over there. Sunny that way. Oh, my eyes. Not sunny that way. So, I mean, I guess the top's missing anyway. What am I really missing out on, right? I think this is like a half-mile walk. Yeah, look at that. Super cute. Went over a little wooden bridge earlier. More lily pads. These are always exciting. There are several different areas offering visitors the chance to explore, learning about the geology, eruption events, and the ongoing recovery of the landscape. I had the opportunity to stop at one while I was driving around as a chance to stretch my legs and explore for a bit. It's centers like these that help visitors understand both the power of the 1980 eruption and the remarkable regeneration that has followed. I decided that another great way to stretch my legs was a visit to the Point Defiance Zoo and Aquarium, located in Tacoma, Washington. It's the only facility in the Pacific Northwest that combines a zoo and an aquarium. It sits within the scenic Point Defiance Park and covers about 27 to 29 acres, and is home to more than 430 species, including polar bears, red wolves, Sumatran tigers, and a variety of marine life. This is an accredited zoo which is highlighted for its commitment to high standards in animal care, education, and conservation. Their conservation efforts include breeding endangered species like red wolves. I mostly just stopped to see the cute animals. Oh my gosh, you guys are so cute. Look at that little face. Love me some big cats, and of course these otters are absolutely adorable. And you know, maybe, just maybe, I might even find some inspiration for future travel destinations. Hello. There's a safari in Mongolia where you can ride these muskox. Okay, I lied. These are muskox. In Mongolia, you can ride yaks. But either way, they look similar, and now riding yaks in Mongolia has moved up on my bucket list. That's all. Oh my god, I want to take them home. These guys were also pretty cute. I kind of wanted to take one home. And to be honest, it looks like they're going to have more in the future, so they might not even notice one missing. The Pendleton Roundup is a famous annual rodeo held in Pendleton, Oregon, and was first established in 1910. It began as a local celebration of the region's ranching, cowboy, and Native American traditions. Over the decades, it has grown into one of the most prestigious rodeos in the United States.
Welcome to the Pendleton Roundup, everybody!
The event is known for its classic traditional style, including wild horse races, saddle bronc and bull riding, roping competitions, and the iconic "Let 'er buck" motto. A key part of the roundup is the Happy Canyon Indian Pageant and Night Show, which highlights indigenous culture and history, especially of the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation. I didn't get a chance to attend this year, but I do highly recommend you check it out if you're in Pendleton for the rodeo.
Welcome the 11-time rodeo of the year. There's one requirement. If you're going to be a queen of the Pendleton Roundup, you better be a cowgirl.
Today, the Pendleton Roundup is a major cultural event each September, blending rodeo sport, Western heritage, and Native traditions into a unique and long-standing celebration, taking place on the high school football field. Some of my favorite things include attending the rodeo and watching the grand entry, the Indian relay race, the Happy Canyon Night Show, and of course the Westward Ho Parade, which is the main reason I was there. In my opinion, nothing quite beats the excitement and the adrenaline rush that is the Indian relay race. With multiple heats each day leading up to the championship run on Saturday, be sure to catch that while you're at the rodeo. Each tribal team furnishes several horses and one jockey who races in a relay fashion, 1 lap per horse, and honestly, the race is won or lost by the smoothness of your transitions. I can't even jump on a horse bareback, so I can't even imagine the coordination it would take for someone to dismount a running horse and jump immediately onto another. A popular destination while attending the rodeo is the world-famous Letterbuck Room, an iconic and notoriously rowdy part of the Pendleton Roundup. Located under the West Grandstands, it's essentially a legendary hospitality and party room. Be sure to sample some Pendleton whiskey while you're there. Each rodeo intermission features the Native American tribes on display, with a parade around the outside track of mounted Native Americans, and then Native American dancing in the center of the field, where they present awards and talk about their culture. A great opportunity to educate the public on the history of the area. But enough of the fun, it's time for me to go to work, handing out goodies at the Westward Ho Parade, an entirely non-motorized parade. The parade takes place on Friday and is one of my favorite things about the Pendleton Roundup. I didn't have time on my way to Eastern Oregon, but I figured on the way home I was going to try and stop by Multnomah Falls to give you guys a look at one of Oregon's most iconic natural landmarks. It's located in the Columbia River Gorge just east of Portland. The waterfall drops a total of 620 feet in 2 picturesque tiers, making it one of the tallest year-round waterfalls in the United States. It's fed by underground springs and seasonal snowmelt, and it flows reliably in every season. The nice thing about it is you can see it from the highway, so I got a glimpse of it as I drove by. Having put Multnomah Falls into my GPS for my route home from Pendleton, it routed me the scenic route, which was a pleasant surprise because I stumbled across this waterfall, one I hadn't seen before, called Horsetail Falls. This scenic roadside waterfall is located along the historic Columbia River Highway in the Columbia River Gorge, just east of Multnomah Falls. The waterfall gets its name from its distinctive shape, which resembles a horse's tail, as it cascades 176 feet down a near vertical cliff. It's easily accessible from a parking area right beside the highway and is a popular quick stop for photos and short visits. A trail from the base also leads to Upper Horsetail Falls, known as Ponytail Falls, where hikers can walk behind the falling water. Known for its graceful appearance and lush surroundings, it is a classic and easily enjoyed gorge landmark. Here we are, just driving the scenic Columbia River Highway, I think is what it's called. I wanted to stop at Multnomah Falls, so I put it in my GPS and it routed me this way instead of the main parking lot off of the freeway. Note to self, probably just park at the freeway next time. At least I got to stop at that first waterfall, the Horsetail one, because the rest of them, parking lots are full. It is a Friday afternoon at 3:30 in the afternoon, and yeah, the tiny parking lot on this side of Multnomah Falls is packed. And I couldn't get any shots of it. There was another waterfall shortly after I thought about stopping at. There was one available spot, the car in front of me took it. So I did not stop. But now I just gotta figure out how the heck to get back on the interstate so I can get home.